being pregnant, does the breathing, does the baby hinder it, slow it down, or go through?
It's a really great question. And the thing that you want to pay attention to and not overdo is you don't want to increase too much intrathecal pressure. That pressure when you lift something up and you go and you push against your insides, you don't want to over pressurize in there. But other than that, when you start moving energy, slow, steady breath, good Kegel, good contraction, move it all the way up, just release and feel the proteins that are made in the brain and neuropeptides made in the brain. What do you think the infant's saying? That's woohoo! And think about this. This is a great conversation. Ancient cultures from Africa, from the United States, the Americas, Native American cultures, Middle Eastern cultures, they understood on some level, in some way, the mystery of the gene. And they would take the bride and the groom and they would separate them for weeks. And not because it would increase passion, but because the male was deciding what he wanted to contribute in his seed, what he wanted to bring to the tribe, bring to the culture, bring to his community. And the woman would separate herself and envision who she wanted to be and what she wanted to bring. And that's actually called genomic imprinting. That the emotions, hours to days before conception, cast the first genetic die. So, if the person is living in fear, if the person's living in poverty, then all of a sudden the child will have a smaller head circumference, may have larger adrenal glands. Why? You need them for fight or flight. Are you with me still? So what is conceived in the flesh, in survival, is born of the flesh. Does that make sense? Then what's conceived in the spirit is born of the spirit. They wanted the medicine man. They wanted the wise woman. They wanted the sage. They wanted the leader. They wanted the tribe to continue into perpetuity. It wasn't about who was driving the sports car or the nice horse. It wasn't about that. It was about how they were going to unify as a culture, because there's power in numbers and there's power in great leadership. Are you with me still? And this is genes. This is research. So then, after conception, or after there's conception, there's a cross-linking of DNA. 23 from each contributor, and then all of a sudden, that energy, that field that begins to surround the sperm and the egg when it becomes one, is the genes are being selected by the energy that's being taken place in the light. And that's instructing the DNA. So the more light there is, of course, there's more life there is. And so then the mother's blood flow is in direct contact with the infant. So the thoughts, the emotions, and even the behaviors are beginning to continuously signal the gene in the environment. Are you with me still? And the reason for that is because as the mother perceives the environment, either in fear or in love, as an example, in anger and hostility, or in compassion and kindness, that second level begins to further signal the gene. Why? Because the child's clay is beginning to mold to be able to face the same conditions in the environment that the mother's perceiving for better chances of survival. Are you with me still? Come on. So then when you do this breath and you begin to release those neuropeptides that are elixirs, they're going to make their way right down into that child's brain and body. And that child is going to know what it feels like to really be in bliss, to be connected. Are you with me still? And so, when my kids were growing up, I would take those beautiful earphones, those high-quality ones, and just put them right on there, and I'd say, this is Vivaldi. Get him. Get him. I just wanted them to be stimulated in some way. And so then when you do the breath, you can't take a big breath. That's not healthy. That's not healthy for the pregnancy, for the carriage. It has to be a slow, steady breath, and it's those intrinsic muscles that you're moving up. And then you pump a little bit, and you pump it up into the brain. Pump, 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 pump. And they just open up and let it go. So then the child then, at birth, is it elegant birth, or is it forced? Is the mom surrendering and letting the body do what it does, or the mom resisting in pain? It changes the whole experience. Yes or no? And so then when the child's born, here comes the third genetic cast. Now, the child has an environment that it begins to interact with. And because of mirror neurons, it's modeling parents' behaviors. And so as it begins to model the parents' behaviors, it's the very thing that continuously signals the gene for them to begin to become like their parents. Anyway, the breath would work for you if you do it properly.